They've existed for centuries, but they didn't enter the public consciousness until the 1970s and 80s. Near death experiences and alien abductions were independent strains of mystery until someone had the audacity to compare the two. Let's explore. Hi everyone, and welcome to Project Bluebook, where we explore all things unidentified. I am Thor, and thanks for tuning in. Let's begin by identifying several roots to this topic. First, Whitley Strieber's Communion, published in 1987. It launched an avalanche of correspondence between Whitley and Anne Strieber on one hand, and experiences worldwide on the other, that recognized the detail in Communion was just like their own abduction experience, and they felt compelled to share the similarities. Working through these letters over many years, Anne Strieber began to see a pattern and famously wrote the following words on a chalkboard: "This has something to do with death." She was beginning to realize the alien abduction experience had something profound in common with experiences claimed by people who had a brush with death, near drowning, victims of violent crimes or accidents, or by illness, finding themselves on a surgery table and they were gone, lost despite medical science. They stopped breathing, their hearts stopped beating, brain function ceased, and in many instances they were declared clinically dead, only to return back to life without a simple explanation. The individuals who experienced this condition invariably described a journey through a tunnel accompanied by an encounter with an enlightened being who would communicate to them telepathically that their time had not come, and sometimes they would see passed on relatives, a lush green valley expanding ahead just before their return, as if sucked back with a considerable force. All of those experiences have been extensively researched, cataloged by Dr. Raymond Moody, the world's foremost authority on near-death experiences and the man who coined the term. He's written a dozen books, including Life After Life and Coming Back, both great reads for the curious, as well as for comparative research. Early abduction stories had little to compare with. Betty and Barney Hill in 1961, Villas Boas in Brazil in 1957, as well as Calvin Parker and Charles Hickson in Pascagoula 1973, and we covered all of them. They had occurred by the time Moody published his first book in 1975, and separately, Budd Hopkins began comparing alien abduction experiences and their commonalities with his first book, Missing Time, in 1981. By the time Communion came out in 1987, followed by Anne Strieber's research, this was the first possible time in history to compare enough data sources on both sides to begin to make connections and discover patterns between near-death experiences and alien abductions. And there were plenty of connections, comparisons, and similarities, something academic researchers Dr. Kenneth Ring, Dr. Susan Gordon, and Dr. Johnny Mack all realized. 1. Out-of-body perspective. Experiencers of both phenomena consistently describe seeing their body in bed on the ground, on a surgical table or otherwise, observing it from above, outside and separate from their bodies, with a perspective of floating, often looking down at their own body below them, even seeing surgical staff frantically resuscitating their bodies, remembering their exact words, and being able to recite them upon return. Similarly, abduction experiencers describe seeing themselves sleeping, and their spouses simply lying fast asleep right next to them, observed from a vantage point above their bed. Both describe a genuine out-of-body experience, or an OBE. 2. Uncontrolled and spontaneous. The OBE experience happens spontaneously and outside of the control of the person experiencing it. They are being forced out of their body, describing the moment as a considerable jolt, followed by a moment of utter confusion, against their will and without having any control over it or against it. Same appears to be true about their return back to their physical state. 3. Astral body. Even if the experiencers of NDE and abductions feel separated from their physical body, they both sense they still have a body that looks and feels like a body, but it floats, not bound by gravity, and it seems to transcend boundaries, separating dimensions or realms that they have no understanding of. Either way, they can see, with their eyes, another world beyond, while simultaneously having in their purview a window into the world to which their physical body they've momentarily left behind belongs. And in that moment, they don't know if they will return at all. 4. Transportation. Both experiences of NDE and abduction are led, sometimes through walls, glass windows, or other solid material, through a tunnel or a spout of energy that leads to another realm. In the instance of alien abduction, to an alien craft, through its entry, landing them in an unfamiliar but physical space, and many describe the dimensions on the inside having no bearing on the size of the craft as they observed it on the outside. In other words, the space they find themselves within looks much bigger than the craft they observed approaching. For near-death experiencers, this transportation invariably takes place through a tunnel of light that they consciously perceive as a portal between two worlds, the physical and spiritual realm. And for religious people, of course, these experiences manifest in their minds as the embodiments of religious doctrines. 5. The highly intelligent guide. Some call them angelic beings, others call them aliens. It all depends on the context of the experience. But here, the experiences are indistinguishable between near-death and abduction. In both cases, a highly intelligent being guides the individual with care and comfort. Some describe this being as angelic, others as protectors. But this is also where the two part ways in a significant way. What differs is the fear factor. Fear is more consistently associated with the abduction experience, sometimes off the charts, inside the realm of paralyzing terror, whereas the NDE experience is described as calming, soothing, to a point of the experiencer stating they would rather stay and continue this new journey rather than return, as if it's where they truly belong, whereas the alien abductee find themselves in an unfamiliar, chilling place they don't feel they belong to at all, and can't wait for the nightmare of terror to end. 6. Memory. Curiously, in both cases, memory of the experience seems to fade quickly and become like a dream, with the alien abductee often remembering nothing at all, except perhaps a light in the sky and missing time, until they relive the experience through hypnotic regression. Linda Moulton Howe has spoken of something I will drop in here without much context, that it seems to her, based on research, that the alien abductors seem to have a keen interest in the realm of spirits, theorized to be without access to it, like they are intent on quote-unquote crack the code of eternity and reincarnation through researching the souls of men in a simulated spiritual state. As a result, when compared, we can speculate the similarities between near-death experience and alien abductions may be simulated on board the alien craft, intentionally, perhaps, for the benefits of the abductee and as part of their research into the realm of soul spirits. Add to this the oddity that experiencers of NDE frequently encounter dead relatives before returning to their physical body. What if I told you there are alien abduction accounts that include meeting dead relatives inside the alien craft, among the aliens? How does the speculation about simulated experience now sound? Regardless, abductors repeatedly exhibit frustration when it comes to their abductees' uncontrolled fear. Quoting Pascagoula, where an alien reacted to Calvin Parker's repeated screaming, Quoting their communication, "Why are you screaming? You know we're not going to harm you. You know this already. Why are you screaming?" End quote. As if this was not the first time. 7. Telepathy. In both experiencers' accounts, communication between the guide and the alien abductee, as well as the NDE experiencers, occurs telepathically. The voice is heard inside their head without anyone's lips moving and in perfectly accented tone of the language of the experiencers, no matter where on the planet this experience takes place, which is fascinating in and of itself. What does that even mean, that the abductor and the otherworldly guide speak all languages of Earth with accents perfectly matching their subjects? 8. Message about the state of the world. Invariably, the experiencer in each case, NDE and alien abduction, receive messages regarding the state of the world, a looming environmental disaster, the damage we're causing Earth's ecosystem, a role as its stewards, but also install in the experiencer upon return a sense of mission, a purpose, that the person involved must return. Their job is not complete, and they must apply themselves to communicate the received messages to the world, and very often they do. 9. The human body as a vessel. NDE experiencers return with a greater sense of meaning and purpose in life, with the added conviction that death means nothing, that life continues beyond the physical body he or she currently possesses. Aliens, in communication with their abductees, repeatedly refer to the human body as a vessel, a container, and that they are cloning or hybridizing it for the habitation of future souls, mixing the genes of Homo sapiens with that of other beings. While experiencers of alien abductions return, often confused, the world they thought they knew has been turned upside down. We're not alone. There's another world out there with strange beings, possibly much smarter than us, much older than us, much wiser, and much more technologically advanced. 10. Life Review. Perhaps the most common thread among NDE experiencers is the life review, where one has the opportunity to revisit one's deeds, good and bad, and experience the emotional dimension of how this affected other people. This is done with love and for learning. In this regard, the highly intelligent guide is all-knowing about you and your emotions, which is yet another commonality with the alien abductions. While there is no life review, more like a physical examination and extraction of fluids, still, the intelligent being on board an alien craft during an abduction seems to also know everything about you, your feelings, your history, your loved ones, and your life. They can pierce the veil of time and look into your soul, access your memories at ease, dissolving your ego, stripping you of any personal protection. 11. Transformative experience. As a result, both experiencer types return to the physical world with a changed perspective. They have a different view on the world and state of affairs, in particular human behavior, within Earth's ecosystem. This reminds me of the perspective afforded those 600 plus humans that have been off this planet. It changed their perspective, seeing Earth as a tiny blue planet, fragile and beautiful in a sea of darkness. The experience is deeply emotional, transformative, and strangely puts our sense of self versus the whole to the test. Ego versus altruism. In the words of Dr. Kenneth Ring, who has extensively compared the two, both NDEs and alien encounter experiences share a common pattern intended to, quote, implant a spiritual seed in the individual to encourage it to move into a higher state of consciousness, end quote. This certainly agrees with many messages received from crop circles, encounters, visitations, and abductions, including with children, that we are not ready for contact, that we need to elevate our spirituality in order for this world to survive, and for us to connect with other civilizations of this universe. My mind always wanders back to a single visual image described in Whitley Strieber's Communion, but he saw the electric wires on the poles outside his house in upstate New York as thick and vivid reflections of light energy that to him looked big and bold and nothing like the electric wires in daylight. While one of Raymond Moody's NDE witnesses described a county road amongst the trees above an accident scene as if almost describing the same, with the electric lines shimmering with light and energy, bold and vivid, and nothing like the electric wires we see during daytime. With so many commonalities between multiple consistent alien abduction accounts on one hand and multiple consistent NDE experiences on the other, now having identified the threads between the two groups additionally and how they seem to be of the same realm, it becomes increasingly hard to deny the reality altogether. Each of these experiences is personal and deeply emotional, introducing concepts like life and death are absolutely not absolutes, only a material manifestation in different realms, without a clear distinction, and for that matter, so too are time and space. You can watch and listen to this and other podcasts on Project Bluebook, where we explore all things unidentified. Each day, let's practice compassion and kindness. And please subscribe. I am Thor, and thanks for tuning in. See you next time.